Is not getting the listing a blessing or a curse?
Well, it depends on what it is. All the calls I am getting right now are people looking to list their property.
I've missed some recently where I thought I was a shoe-in.
Are they selling?
No, man. They're starting to do their price reductions that I told them that's where they needed to be in the first place. The sellers are looking to us. What number do I need to put this at to get it gone?
But they don't like the number usually.
You have to be lower than all the other ones.
That other one that's for sale is the real market now.
That one is not sold and not getting action. So how far overpriced is that one?
I hate this. I hate people being in my house. If someone just gives me my number right now, I'll take it.
Getting an offer is the good thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot blame a buyer right now for offering as low as they're offering.
Welcome to the Tom Storey Show with Steve Karrasch and Tom Storey, where we discuss everything real estate or whatever else is on our minds.
Welcome back to the Tom Storey Show. Steven, what's going on with your face? It looks different than normal. It's not great normally anyways, but it looks, even different today. The market's been tough. What's happening?
It's tough negotiation. No, I heard that somebody got handed, TK Butler got handed an award for best black eye. So I was like, I'm going to make it happen. So I went and got punched in the face. And
do you think we could
I'm
schedule
the realtor with the best? I'm the realtor with the best black eye.
Do you think we could schedule a live stream BJJ TK versus Steve Karrasch match on YouTube, and we could donate the money to charity? We'll sell $5 tickets. What do you
want
think?
To see a brown belt go against a white belt?
Here's what I think we should do. To watch him beat you up.
Next time, actually, this is legit. This is an offer I'll have. Next time I'm in Toronto, maybe I can set up a BJJ match with TK, and then you will see. Hopefully by then I'll be a blue belt. So you'll see what a brown belt can do to a blue belt. Okay. And it will be amazing. But then you have to have a match with me afterwards. And then you'll see the different levels of, because blue belt's like not good, but a blue belt can murder any regular person. So
okay. So there's levels to this.
There's levels to this game.
All right. Well,
and
thankfully,
we are black belts in the Canadian real estate podcasting, and those TK and Daryl are still white belts in that.
I was just going to give those guys some credit. They finally had some good guests, 3 in a row. Wow. What
amazing guests.
They've really upped their game. I don't know if their audience is happy about it, but we'll find out soon. I guess they'll have come out before this.
They're probably going back to terrible guests this week, I would assume. So we'll see.
Well, thank you everybody to be back here. I could basically, let me try that again. I can't get any words out of my mouth.
I just want everybody to know we had serious technical difficulties this morning, so it'll probably be a short episode. Our guest unfortunately could not join us. We will reschedule that guest because it's going to be a good guest, and we can now just talk about the market and how absolutely terrible it is. Tom Storey.
Please subscribe. Help us get to 7,000. We'd appreciate it because it allows us to get bigger guests. And I have a new list that I haven't even shared with you, Steve, of people I'm going after to get on the show that are good. And I want to have the numbers to make them feel like they feel comfortable coming on the show, because this is not a got you podcast. We're not trying to trick anybody. We want to come on and have real conversations with people.
If that one big all-time guest would have just realized that's not what we were going to do to him before he bailed on us, it would have been fun. But as a result, we actually have somebody at the same level of them coming back on the podcast, and it's going to be really good soon. So, yeah. All right. So, Tom Storey, how has it changed? We have nothing prepared now. How has it changed? How doom and gloom are you today?
So I'll give you my real business, then I'll give you kind of like general market. So like, what am I seeing in my day to day? Is that all the calls I am getting right now are people looking to list their property, which, you think as a real estate agent is like, well, that's exactly what you want. More than half of them are condos. So as we know, it's going to be a bit of a battle. We get them sold, but it takes longer. You have to be more realistic about where things are at. And then we had a house listing that we listed with an offer date, didn't go crazy low on price. Like, we were in the range of where we wanted to be. 7 days on the market, 25 showings, detached house, good area, got 2 offers, sold for him last night. So, not much has really changed since our conversation with Chris, and the fact that like houses are okay. Like detached houses are pretty stable. Semis are doing well. And then condos is just such a mixed bag depending on what you are. Are you a 1-bedroom? Where are you located? Is it tenanted? Like there's kind of like a checklist I should almost put out just to show you, like, or I should do like a form, fill out this form, and it'll just give you a 1-word answer at the end that like, here's what the market means to you based on your property type. Right? I think that would actually be, like a quiz, an online quiz for people.
Like one of those personality quizzes where you are this type of person.
Based on the response. I think I could do 10 questions and give people some pretty straightforward answers.
So listing master Tom Storey that stands up in front of 1,000 or 1,200 agents and teaches them how to do a listing presentation. And everybody's goo goo gaga over the boy wonder afterwards. Is Tom Storey getting 100% of these listing presentations right now? Are you listing every single condo that you're coming across?
No, of course I'm not.
Why not?
Well, sometimes you don't know. Did we talk about this on another episode? Maybe I did. Like there was one that like I think you did. You said I know they listen to this show, so it's just like I really would have loved the opportunity, but you can't get 100% of it, right? And there's going to be some reasons why they go with other people, and it might be the reason they told you. It might. You know what, Steve? I may have just gone in there to confirm the price they wanted to hear, so that they could hire their friend that they had already promised it to.
Totally. So
no, I'm not getting all of them. No,
there's a reason I asked that question. Is not getting the listing right now a blessing or a curse?
Well, it depends on what it is. It depends on what the property type is. This is the first market in a long time that I would say I'd rather, if someone were to call me or book an appointment, I'd rather see that it says buyer consultation versus listing. Even though we know that listings are how you last in the real estate world, and if you have the inventory, you will be okay. But if you have overpriced sitting inventory and it's costing you $2,500 to run it, and then staging renewals come up, so it's sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse. And I'll actually say in this one example that I didn't get it, it motivated the hell out of me. I'm like, I gotta change something up. There's wording I'm not using. There's something that I'm leaving to their imagination, and it's going to make me better at my job. So in that sense, I'm okay with it. I'll move on. It's fine. And the day later, when I didn't get that one, another one came out of nowhere for a similar price that we listed right away. So, it's the real estate gods work in mysterious ways. But no. If you're batting 100% on listings, you're not going on enough.
Oh, that's totally true. But at the same time, like I've missed some recently where I thought I was a shoe-in. And
are they selling?
No, man. They're starting to do their price reductions that I told them that's where they needed to be in the first place. One in particular, these people were very optimistic in their price.
Right.
And I said, guys, the numbers don't show it. The numbers show 10% less than what you want. However, I understand the process. I get where your heads are at. There was a high sale at one point. So I'm like, I get that you want to try to achieve this number. It's not there. And then on the day before I thought we were going to list it, I get the phone call saying they want to increase the price 5% from the 10% overpriced. And I was like, guys, and so that next thing I get the email back, thanks for your time, which is you're out of here. And then they're up, and now they've already reduced back down to the 10% too high price, right? But that is the curse of sellers right now. So there's a challenge that we're coming across, and that challenge is the sellers are looking to us. What number do I need to put this at to get it gone?
But they don't like the number usually.
I actually don't think I know the number right now.
Because it's changing so quickly?
Because at what point when you're doing an evaluation, how far back do you go?
I try not to go that far back.
30 days, 60 days, 90 days?
I mean, 90 would be the furthest I'd want to go back. if I had comparables to work with. Otherwise, sometimes you have to go back further and just look at what's happened in the market, right?
Correct. So what happens if there's no sales in 90 days?
Well, so then you go back to the one that happened 120 days ago and figure out what benchmark price has done for their property type, how many listings, how many sales since that time frame, and then try to do the math basically and say this is what the market is telling us where it should be.
Or you have to be lower than all the other ones.
Actively for sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's say, for instance, you listed a condo because your condo market is so terrible at 5 or 6 months supply, which apparently is like our entire market is worse than that. But let's say, for instance, you had a place listed for $600,000, or sorry, the last sale was $600,000, but it was in October, and now the most recent listing is listed at $549 and not sold. It's been on the market for 45 days.
Is this an apple to apple comparison? This is the same. This is the same.
Let's say it is. Sure.
Okay.
Let's
then
say it is.
And how long has the 549 been on the market for?
45 days.
Okay. So you have to undercut the 549 if you want to be in the position to sell, because one of those listings is going to be the decoy. You don't want it to be you. They're going to see both of them. You have to look like the better option.
But Tom, the market says it's only come down 1% since October.
Because there's been 3 sales, right? Like, it depends on how many transactions. Like, that's the thing. Actually, I'm happy you brought this up, because there's 3.
This is the challenge of the sellers right now.
There's 3 ways in which we determine value of a property, whether it's a condo, a house, it doesn't matter. The first way is we look at, hey, real estate agents, I'm going to ask you a very simple question. Are you proud of your current website? If there's any hesitation in your answer, what I want you to do is go to realtyninja.com/Tom. They provide amazing websites for the real estate industry at an affordable cost. Steve has been using them for over a decade. realtyninja.com/Tom. We go back to the date they bought it, and we use benchmark price, and we create a custom graph for them and say, here's the month and year that you bought it for this property type. And we print this out. I bring it on my presentation and I go, here's what's happened. So they can see the 2021, 2022 peak and drop off and where it's at today. And then you can kind of draw a line from when they bought till today. And it kind of just shows them, like, here's where you stand. That's general market. Now, that doesn't that doesn't tell you everything, but it gives you a pretty good grasp of what's happening. Then I would go to, well, what has recently sold? And if there's recently sold comps and nothing on the market, then that's what you'll work with. But if there is not very many recently sold comps and there's direct competition on the market, then in my estimation, the direct competition is the only thing that matters. If you choose, you are ready to sell in this market and willing to do what it takes to get it done.
This is where everybody's stuck. So let's use these numbers that we just used. So I pull up my statistics, and my Fraser Valley Real Estate Board says that $600,000 condo came down 2.5%. So we knock off the whatever it is. Let's say it's $15,000 or $20,000, and we're now at $579, and the competition is at $549 and not selling.
Well, it doesn't. The number 2 pillar we talked about, which was the last sale and what's happened in the market, doesn't matter anymore if there's something actively for sale that's identical to yours and is cheaper. That's the only thing that matters. Yeah.
So here's the crazy part, though. So the numbers say you're down 2.5% or whatever to get sold. Like, here's where it gets really tough.
The numbers are the past month. That other one that's for sale is the real market now. That's not. Correct. That's old news.
Correct. However, here's how the seller's mind goes. Okay, we're down 2.5%. We're going to list it. I'm losing money because I need $579 now, so I'll capitulate to that. Ooh, big word for Steve.
Wow,
all right.
Jesus.
But then we're $549 is the other exact comparable, and that's fine. However, that one is not sold and not getting action. So how far overpriced is the $549 right now?
And not just that, it's will they make a price change eventually, or will they sell and the 549 takes 530 or 535. And not only, and then when that happens, and I'm not explaining this to you, Steve, I'm talking to the audience here, but when that happens, not only do you have to make, that is the benchmark last sale that you have to acknowledge. You can't, like, one sale doesn't make a market, but if it's exactly
they
yours,
had to sell. Tom Storey, didn't you know those people had to sell?
yeah, but if that, unless there's more sales happening after that, and you can kind of look at a few, if that's the only one, unfortunately for this situation, you have to acknowledge, you can't pretend it didn't happen. Just like you're focusing on the one sale that happened in a good market to why you want this price, then you can't just ignore the bad sale that happened more recently, because that's where things are at. And not only do you then have to get to that price, you have to adjust. You lost the buyer. When does that next buyer?
That buyer's gone.
That buyer's gone. That might have been the only buyer between those two units, and it took the other one. So not only do you lose, you get where I'm going with this, right?
No. So I get where you're going with it, but I want to walk through this because there's a lot of sellers out there listening. There's a lot of realtors that have to walk their clients through this right now.
Yeah.
And it's the challenge that I'm having is educating my clients on where actual market value is, and it's less than what they like. So for instance, you just did lose that buyer. So you lost that buyer. That was the buyer in the current market that was willing to pay the highest price.
Yep.
So now you're looking for a new buyer who is not willing to pay that price, or someone coming new to the market this week. How many new buyers are coming to my market this week? My showings would say not that many.
And every recent sale that's happened in order, even if there's only been a few, I'm guessing in this situation, it was like, 610 was the comp. And then it was 599 because of another sale. And then it was this. So every sale that's happened has actually dropped the market a little bit. So when that one firms up for 535 or whatever it ends up selling for, do you think the next buyer that does eventually show up that could take another 30 days is going to want to pay the same as the last one in a decreasing market? No, they're going to want to pay less. So,
yeah, but it's a reality of where it is. And I think this is, it's more indicative of a regular market. I think prices are, with all the economic uncertainty, we are definitely in a dip. I think we're not going to likely come out of this until we have a trade deal, which is, who knows, probably negotiated by now.
Sure.
And at the same time, like double down on election, maybe an election's announced by now. I don't know what's going on, but at some point, there's too much uncertainty to give any sort of stability to the market, right? We just had another interest rate decrease. All of these things are going on, and I don't know necessarily that sellers are taking it serious enough. And I wonder when they will get to that point in their head to go, oh yeah, this isn't going well, and I'm not going to sell for more, so I better take my money and run.
I think it just, there's a few different ways you could look at it. It's like, how much time did the realtor that listed the property try to explain this to them before they listed? And I know you're not going in there just being like, sign here. You would have done your due diligence. Maybe they just didn't accept it, but they're like, but yeah, that we get it, but let's just try this and see what happens, right? That's typically the response that you get. So there could be that. But you're also, I'm guessing in this scenario, this property wasn't listed last year by somebody else?
No, these wouldn't have been those types of properties. So, I'm not saying this is my situation. I'm just saying this is a common thread. And you're right. I am having these conversations, and the listings that I'm losing, they're not liking. They're listing with a guy that's still at 609.
How many of those listings that you've lost have sold?
Zero.
Yeah.
Absolutely zero. So, and that's okay. I'm not sitting here going, oh, I'm sad I'm not getting the listings. I'm sitting here going, I feel like I'm giving the best advice, but because I can't say this is the number to get it sold, that people are, one, they're not happy with the number I'm telling them to start at. Like, hey guys, everybody, this guy's been on the market for 45 days at 549. He's not sold, or she is not sold. And if they were getting offers within what's our average list to sale? I think it's 3%, 2.5% to 3% in my market. So if they were getting offers or showings or whatever, it would be within a couple of percent. So there's a high likelihood that that guy is still 5% overpriced, meaning that we're 529 to 525.
It's actually better in the case that if there is something on the market that is directly comparable, it's better if it's been sitting over 30 days, because then it's very clear. Like, not only is that directly comparable, but they're probably not even priced right because they haven't sold yet.
But don't you get that question? No, that one down the hall, Tom, that one's going for 549. It's not going for 549. It's sitting for 549.
Well, no, yeah. The only thing, list price is irrelevant. Sold price. I mean, list price isn't irrelevant if you're competing with it, but list price is irrelevant in terms of like using it as a comparable. Sold price is the only thing that matters. What did it end up selling for? That's the only thing that matters. And if it's been sitting there at that list price that they're trying to get and not selling, it's already very clear that like, well, their strategy is not working. You think going higher than that is going to work for you if all things are even with the property.
How much are your sales down this month? Do you know yet? Month to date?
I could take a look. I don't know. Me personally or the market?
I don't want to talk about me personally.
We're doing okay.
We are down 30% year over year, and last year was not gangbusters.
Yeah, but of course we are. It's freaking all we talk about is tariffs. The sales volume was already going to be low. The Bank of Canada was already probably going to cut rates in earlier March, regardless of tariffs. This just kind of accelerated it, right? Like we thought before the tariff talk, most of the expectation was the overnight rate gets to at least 2.5, if not 2. Some of the banks were guessing.
What did you put in your prediction video? Where do you think rates are going to be by the end of the year?
I'll be wrong. I said 2.5. I think it's getting to 2.5 for sure.
I think if I remember correctly, I think I said 1.75 to 2%.
Which the longer this plays out, the more realistic I think that is. Because 1.75 is even lower than any of the economists said. They all stuck to 2 being their bottom number in terms of the overnight rate.
So did I tell you this? I hope I didn't. I hope I'm not repeating myself. I was having lunch with a guy the other day that was speaking with a big developer, a developer that if I used the name, everybody would likely know, specifically in Vancouver, but you'd probably know in Toronto as well.
Okay.
Apparently up to 30% of their pre-sold units are not completing.
What are they doing? Are they
buyers are walking? Buyers are walking. They're walking from deposits, and at that point in time, the question is, what will they sell it for, and then will they have damages? So I was looking. So I had that conversation with that guy. So this is word of mouth. Would never stand up in court. Hearsay. But then I'm looking at a project, and I'm like, wow, there's a lot on the market for this one project. It was pre-sold 2 years ago
on MLS.
I'm like, so it's completed.
Okay.
They're on MLS now. It's completed and they're on
resale
MLS.
From people that bought it or developer leftover inventory.
A third of them, which lines up with 30%, a third of them are for sale by the developer.
If that's the case and they're listing them for sale again, would that not tell you that they've worked out with the buyers that fine, we will keep your deposit, go away, and we're not going to sue you? Or they're just going to try to resell it and then try to recoup everything after the fact?
No, because the only way you can sue is to prove damages.
Got it. Okay.
So if you get them to sign off on their deposit, I get your deposit. You're probably not signing off on the deposit, though. It's probably staying. So now the developer has to sell the property and then prove that the damages are greater than the deposit.
Right.
Some people think that if the developer sells and it's less than the deposit, they're going to get part of the deposit back. They're not. They're going to forfeit the deposit. But guess who has the lowest price listings in the development now? It's the developer. It's not the resale people.
This answers the question that came up in the comments in the Sean Hildebrand episode, which was why are assignments or development sales not on MLS? It's like, well, because the developer doesn't want to compete. with.
Also, they have their own market, so they don't need to compete.
It's also it's also not real yet. When it's an assignment, it's not technically a condo. It's literally a piece of paper at that point.
Yeah.
So should it be allowed? Should it be allowed to be on MLS? It's not even real property at that point.
People don't understand that when you're, I say that way too much, eh? People don't understand. You know why that is? Because people don't understand. They don't get the fact that when they buy an assignment, they're not buying a condo, they're buying a contract.
Yep.
It's a big distinction in law. It is nothing to do, you are not a party to the contract, you are buying one party's rights to that contract. Right? So it's a big distinction. But if you had all of those assignments on, the reason the developers don't put them on is because if the building doesn't sell out, they don't want to have to compete with their own units that they've already sold.
Yeah.
Which is what happens, because I'm assuming 50 to 70% of pre-con buyers are not planning on holding long term.
Well, I mean, they might have to. They might have no other choice.
I think they should. I mean, you should never buy a pre-sale with intent of flipping it upon completion or prior to completion.
Easy to say now, but lots of people did. Lots of people did.
Lots of people do lots of things they shouldn't do, but they shouldn't do it. Like, you should never, the risk that I'm seeing these people have taken on has been absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I've heard a bunch of stories in Toronto, more just from, there's one pre-con agent on Facebook, and I keep seeing his posts, and I'm engaged, I'm reading them, so I think it's feeding me more of them. And he's blatantly calling out developers, being like, for so many years, these people bought up all your product, worked with you, were good, never didn't close on anything. And now there's people in tough situations that are trying to assign it to make sure that it can still close and they don't have to go into legal battles. And apparently a lot of these developers are kind of being assholes, being like, fine, you can assign it, but last minute, it's a $15,000 fee to assign it. Yeah. It's like, well, let's not be like, when it's tough, I get it. I get there's a lot of hate towards the speculative nature of the pre-com market, but so many people are involved in it. And I know we've also complained on this show that, hey man, developer can't even launch a project and make much money anymore because of the fees. Let's not kid ourselves. Developers became very rich the last 15 years from selling pre-con condos. Yes, the new owners did great. Everybody did well on it. Everybody. They were all winning. The developers aren't sitting there being like, woe is me, that went up for that purchaser. Like, they made good money.
Do you need insurance? The answer to that question is obviously yes, of course you do. Whether you are a tenant, landlord, or homeowner, you need to insure your property and belongings. And when I insure my investment property, personally, I choose Square One. Square One is affordable online insurance for everyone. If you apply for your Square One insurance policy using the link in the description of the show notes, listeners of the Tom Storey Show can receive $20 off right now, simply by going to squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show. Square One is no joke. I personally use Square One for my landlord policy on my investment condo. I picked Square One because they were easier to work with than other insurance companies. And when I had an issue with my previous policy coverage in relation to my Strata's coverage, Square One was the insurance company that came up with a solution for my insurance problem at an affordable rate. Online quotes take less than 5 minutes with Square One. Get your home insurance quote today at squareone.ca/the Tom Storey Show and save $20.
And now, at this point when it's tough, the customer that's been buying your product for the last 15 years, you're going to sit there and go, I'm going to make this really tough for you when they're trying to find ways to make it close.
I just went through it. I had a client that bought, not pre-sale condos. We do a couple of pre-sale townhouses because they're shorter time horizons. Yeah. Usually there's like shovels in the ground by the time they kind of start selling them.
Yep.
So I had a guy buy one and there was a hiccup with closing. The hiccup was, I would say, the fault. I guess I would have to argue it's the fault of the developer. It was, let's call it a big misunderstanding. It was a big Three's Company episode, okay? That was a TV show in the 70s and 80s for you kids out there listening. So there was a mix-up, And I went to the developer and I said, listen, here's this mix up. I see how it happened. Here's how it's probably, I'm going to say 75% your fault, 25% another party's fault, not mine. Never my fault. Nothing's ever my fault. Just ask my wife.
Of course.
And I said, guys, we're going to need another week because you guys did not give us the correct notices at the correct timeline and all this stuff. And they were like, nope. And they were hard. I was like, all we need to do is delay this closing by 1 week,
Right?
because financing cannot happen because you guys didn't do your process correctly. And they were like, hard no. So like I had to phone Rowan, who's been on the show, and hey man, guess what? We're funding this in a week. And now I think if we would have got to the closing table and the lawyers would have had this information, even their lawyer would have told them to, but we put it together because we got good brokers and stuff. But that, you're right. The developers, they're not playing nice at all.
And I'm not saying like let everyone off the hook and give back. That's not what I'm saying. But like, if someone's found a buyer to assign it to, let them do it.
Waive the assignment fee and let it close.
Don't you want it to close? Is the alternative better to go after someone and sell it again and then go after for damages? That I don't think so.
That's not
maybe they just don't want the story out there publicly that they're being nice to buyers, because then everyone's going to think, well, I'm going to find a way to get off the hook. I mean, perhaps that's the rationale, which you could actually make an argument for, right? I don't know. I don't even know if I've talked about this on our show. I talked about it on the Vancouver Life podcast. I share little tidbits for other people, right? Don't want to hog it all for here. But did you watch that? Do you know what I'm talking about? You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Okay. Well,
and I don't get invited on other people's podcasts.
I didn't watch you on Cress anyways. I just read the comments.
Oh, I did. I did get invited on Cress. It was very interesting. I didn't realize they were shit talking me before I joined on the call and were making fun of me, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's what they do over there.
If I could beat up TK, I would, but I can't. So Daryl, I'm coming for you.
But what we had learned, we had a lawyer come to one of our team meetings, and we are basically just like, he came for free. I kept joking with him. I'm like, I don't want an invoice when you leave here today, because we were just peppering him with questions. And the one was like, what's happening right now behind the scenes with the pre-con stuff and yada, yada, yada. We've touched on everything. But what was interesting is he's like, the client comes to the lawyer and says, I can't close on this or that. And the lawyer tries to go to the developer, but then they get sworn by 25 law clerks or whatever it is on the other side that are just dealing with it and not giving answers and taking a week to get back on everything. And he's like, we're not getting any answers. They're not playing ball on anything. But what he did say was working is the realtor that initially sold them that property, who might not be picking up their calls these days because they feel guilty about it because they paid way too much money. But that's probably another conversation. You want to redeem yourself. You want to show your client that you don't care just about the check and selling them this pre-con, which is worth way less than they paid for it when they're about to try to close on it. Go to the developer's office. Try to have a conversation with them and say, hey, my client bought this unit for let's say $800,000. They cannot close. They can't close. Why don't you what is other people trying to give back to you right now? We could close on one for $650.
Oh yeah, like a swap. Yeah.
Swap the unit. And why would the developer be open to this? Well, because it's one guaranteed closing versus two potential failed closings with. That's
an interesting strategy. Yeah.
But that's the only thing I've heard that's actually, and I'm not saying everyone's going to agree to this, and obviously it's situational, but apparently this has worked a few times that this lawyer's telling us. So there is an option out there. Call the realtor that told you to buy this thing and told you it was a good idea, and get them to go work for you. Because I'm telling you, they made more commission on that sale than resale agents do on anything else.
That's an interesting strategy that I don't think anybody would employ. That's pretty smart.
Show up to their office. Go old school. Talk to them. Try to find a solution. Steve did that. He got punched in the face. But he got his client the cheaper unit.
No, this was from the client. No, I don't sell. Actually, that was, I had a bunch of negative feedback recently about, selling pre-sales and stuff. And I was like, yeah,
Wasn't me.
I don't sell pre-sales, man. Like, that is not my business. There is a bunch of guys out there that are in a business model of pre-selling stuff, and I've warned people against it, and I feel fantastic about that warning now. I've cost myself a lot of business.
I know, me
but
too.
I also saw it happen right when I got licensed. When I got licensed in 08, the same thing was happening in the market. It took those people 10 years to get their money back. And I've always warned people and said, no, buy something you can touch and feel now. Don't buy those pre-sales. Those are for proper investors. And you're not a proper investor. You're somebody trying to make a quick buck.
Mm-hmm.
If you made a quick buck and you could do that, fine. But like, you can't go into it with the mindset of, you know, when I buy index funds, I may be able to cash out if I have a good run. But my thought is, I'm not selling this for 20 years. I should have cashed out a couple of weeks ago.
but in 20 years, you'll be happy you didn't. So there you go.
Exactly. So right now, the buying opportunity is there. So I did want to bring up something. I've covered this on my channel, but I know there's going to be probably different listeners here. A lot of people don't get what is gone on in BC. It was very quietly undone as of the 17th of March. Okay. Bully offers, Tom Storey, are back in British Columbia. Next thing, who knows? Maybe they'll have limited dual agency come back. But
okay, so give me the simple, I'm a casual viewer of this podcast. What does a bully offer mean? Because we call it preemptive offers in our market as well. What does it actually mean? Why was it taken away? And why have they brought it back?
Okay, so a bully offer would be an offer that is presented by a very eager buyer to a seller prior to what you guys refer to as an offer date, or what we call a direction of offers. So in other words, I brought my property on Tuesday. We're going to look at offers next Monday, which was very prevalent a few years ago. Still prevalent, I guess, in your market if you want to underprice something and sell it for top dollar still.
Just worked for us on a house.
Yeah. So then on Friday or Wednesday or some day before Monday, you get an offer that says, take this offer now. We're not bringing this offer back on Monday. We want to take it, and it's usually unconditional, and it's usually for way more than the asking price, but it's a bully offer, which means take it or leave it, and we're going to cut out all your other buyers. So you might sell for more on Monday.
Well, it's not necessarily cut out. Like, even if we accept a bully, we still have to notify everyone that showed the property or had interest to let them know there's now a new time and date in which we are going to review this, but you better act fast.
And has maybe anybody ever not sent out that message that's a realtor? Maybe missed it and just accepted an offer?
I will say in our market, that is like, you have to go into the MLS, change it on the broker remarks, send out a message. You have to make sure people know. So do I say in theory, the question you asked, of course, maybe somebody has forgotten before, but I don't know if you're representing the seller, why the heck would you forget to do that? You could potentially get another 2 offers on the table. Why would you ever do that?
Because the offer on the table is so good, you don't want to piss that guy off.
I don't care about pissing that guy off. My contract signed with the seller.
You do if his offer is $100,000 higher than you get from any other buyer on Monday.
Yeah, but if I can
cost your client a ton of money.
Steve, let's play this out for a sec. I could. Well, first of all, in Ontario, at least, like, we have to notify everybody. That's not even a question. So
we do too here. Yeah,
every single time. Let's say I get a bully offer from you and you give me 3-hour irrevocable. I call my client. I'm like, hey, this number is good. It's firm. We don't have a cooling off period in Toronto. They send in a copy of the deposit. Hey guys, like, you should take this. This is good. I don't know if this is coming next week, but we have 3 hours. I'm going to register the offer. I'm going to notify everybody else. And 45 minutes later, I get a call saying, hey, I know you have an offer. When are you reviewing it? We're going to send you something too. Don't you think if another offer comes in, there is a chance that top offer could increase in value again?
Maybe. Or they're going to get pissed off because they're competing and they don't want to do that.
See, buyers that make offers say, I don't want to compete, or just like, well, yeah, I get it. That would be nice.
I'm not trying to negotiate if we should bully offer or not, Tom. I'm trying to tell you the process.
Sorry, I went off track there. Okay.
Whether or not you want to, I get it. You're doing the best. You're going to get the most amount of offers for your clients. You're going to do whatever. But that was what a bully offer was. It was an attempt to not compete at the regular offer date. So here in BC, we got buyer protections up the wazoo. right? We got every buyer protection you can think of, including removal of limited dual agency, including a cooling off period where a buyer can walk away from contract for any reason for 3 days, like lunacy. But the realtors got together, and it was 3 boards. It was a Vancouver board, Fraser Valley board, and
that never ends well when the realtors get together, and doesn't end well.
Well, the realtors said, they put together a list of actual buyer protections, things that would be good for buyers. And they presented it to the government, of which was completely overlooked. Way amazing how that works. Here's the things that will actually work. Nah, don't worry about those. We've got an agenda. We're going to pass our agenda. So that's fine. So the realtors said, well, what if we change the way our MLS works and our what they call the rules of cooperation? What if we say that if you're going to do a direction of offers, that you cannot change your mind after? So you can still use the strategy. You just can't move the goalposts in the middle of the game.
Right.
And the realtors are like, oh, you mean do what you say you're going to do? Yeah, that's fair. Let's do that. So the realtors got together and they changed how we operate with each other to say, this is what we're going to do. So this went on for a good couple of years now, I think. I want to say it's 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years, maybe. I can't remember. And we basically got to the spot where it was working fine, but all those offers are gone. Right. Ain't no bully offers happening anymore. Right. So
how does that protect the buyer by not allowing them to use a strategy to get the house they want?
Because apparently the only things that matters is transparency and fairness and getting the lowest dollar volume and not getting the house they want. That's not part of protecting them at all.
If you're a real estate agent in Ontario, you're well aware of what TRESA is and the new RICO information guide. And explaining that guide to your clients is of absolute importance and is mandatory. Now, we've been using an additional resource that we got from TRESAvideo.ca. It's been really helping our team have that conversation with potential buyers and potential sellers from the very beginning. Check out TRESAvideo.ca to learn more. At least we're clear on that.
Yeah, right. So what happened this week is we got a message, I guess last week, we got a message from our board saying that the regulator or the government has told us this is not a practice that we are allowed to engage in anymore, or at least that they should tell us we should reconsider. So they have reconsidered and they've removed it. So our form was called a direction regarding offer presentation.
Yeah, we have a very similar form here.
Or sorry, a direction regarding presentation of offers, a DRPO. We as realtors made it an IDRPO, meaning irrevocable.
Yeah.
If you say you're holding offers, you have to hold offers, and you cannot take bully offers.
Sure.
So then the government comes in and they said, no bueno, man. Like, this is out. And I'm like, okay, well, why is this out? Their ruling is that it contradicts a realtor's responsibility to give their client good advice given new information. So what they're saying is you're breaching your agency if you don't give that guy the bully offer.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh.
So you're breaching your agency if you don't represent your seller correctly. But here's all these other buyer protections that we're going to help you breach your agency with.
Let me ask you this.
Really silly.
When they removed it, were buyers aware? Like, did people still try to bully offer on things?
That we don't see many offer days. No, you could.
I mean, I guess the market kind of softened anyways, where you probably weren't. Probably wasn't a market with a ton of bully offer potential anyways, but still.
No, but if the realtors are told, hey, you can't bully offer anymore, then it's, oh, sorry, that is off the table for you, buyer. We're going to go do the offer presentation Monday at whatever.
Right.
So here's the worst part. It worked. It was more fair for everybody. And it was a solution that was good. Now, could it mean lower sale prices for my sellers? Yes. But I actually think that if a seller says they're going to hold offers, they should hold offers, and they shouldn't change the goalposts. But then we'd be breaching our agency.
Why can't the sellers change the goalpost, but then the buyers get 3 days to change the goalpost once they've already purchased the property? That's what
Seller
makes no sense
rescission
to me.
period. Yeah, totally.
It makes
100%.
no sense. There should the rescission period should be an equal 50-50 partnership. They both have to decide that they have 3 days that they're happy with their decision or something.
Wait a minute.
Why is it just the buyer? Why is it just the buyer?
Try this novel idea. We could just come to an agreement on a contract and not have a reason to not come to an agreement on a contract after we agreed to the contract. You don't have to present an offer. You don't have to accept an offer. But if you do that, why is it not firm and binding? Basically, I'm trying to point out how stupid the government is. I've never done that before on this show.
Shocking.
And how all they're worried about is the image of protecting people without necessarily protecting people. This was actually something that I thought was fair and good, and it's the thing that they're removing now.
Oh, so you liked the no bully offer. I'm actually surprised to hear you say that. Because I thought you didn't I thought you didn't like that we shouldn't be making changes if they're fair. The fair doesn't matter. You should be able to decide what you'd like to do on both sides of the transaction.
This is something I definitely struggle with because I'm also a man of my word. So if I say I'm going to do something, I don't want to undo it. You know how terrible it is if you are that realtor. I know you've been in this situation before. So you list your place on Tuesday when the market was hot. On Monday, you're going to review offers.
Yep.
Saturday night
at
9 o'clock, you get a, whatever you guys call it, irrevocable for 2 hours, and it's $300,000 more than you ever thought it would sell for.
Yeah, you call your seller and you go, let's go.
Do you know where I am Saturday night at 9 o'clock?
Yeah, but you don't matter. You don't matter because it's not about you. It's about.
I understand that.
But now you're saying that realtors shouldn't be inconvenienced on the weekend? Like we kind of signed up for that.
No. Don't do this to me, Tom Storey.
Hey, maybe just next time only have one drink.
That is not an option. Okay. So
it's your right to have 3 drinks, just like it's their right to accept an offer Saturday night.
Kentucky bourbon, it is my right in BC to have.
You drink in. Okay. Anyways, go on.
But here's where I'm getting at. Now at 9 o'clock at night, I have to try and get a hold of everybody else that showed that property, and I have to say, I'm not doing what I said I would do. We're changing the goalpost now. For me and my reputation, that sucks.
See, it doesn't, at least in my perspective in Toronto, that wouldn't hurt my reputation because everyone's aware that that's just how this works. I've been on the buyer side getting those emails saying, hey, you have 2 hours, call your clients. And it's interesting too, because when a bully offer comes in, the seller doesn't have to take it, right? They can just say like, we're not responding to this. We're going to wait till our offer date anyways. So you kind of know if you're another buyer, if the seller says, hey, we got a bully and we're going to be reviewing it, they're essentially saying, we'd like to take this offer. So then it would bring out maybe 2 other really serious buyers in a hot market, but there'd be 5 others that would have offered on Monday that are like, it's Saturday night. And for some sellers, the stress level of listing on the Tuesday, taking offers on the Monday, by Thursday night, they're like, I hate this. I hate people being in my house. If someone just gives me my number right now, I'll take it.
Which is why I actually think there might be another side to this.
Okay.
I'm wondering if BC is getting ready to finally embrace final offer. Because think about how much of a pain in the butt the irrevocable is.
Right.
Because you can't embrace final offer. Or sorry, irrevocable. Did I use the right word? No. So the offer presentation time.
Yep.
You can't embrace final offer if you have to stick to the offer presentation time. You can't, because clicking that buy now button is a bully offer.
Yeah. We also should probably change the term. Shouldn't call it a bully offer because that just sounds like mean and bad. That's probably why it was banned in the first place. Yeah. You look like you got bullied.
Bully offered last night? No. Never mind. I did get an offer last night that was
good?
Normally offensively low. And I was like, so another member on my team was dealing with it, but I was like, listen, when you phone the seller, remind them right now that getting an offer is the good thing. And you cannot blame a buyer right now for offering as low as they're offering. You can't blame them for doing that. They're trying to do their best. Now, is it a realistic number? Of course not. But apparently, neither is your asking price.
Hey, it might be a realistic number in 30 days. That's the problem sometimes. I would say that too. There's a lot of buyers right now that want to do things that for some reason don't want to make low offers. Just try. It's not real unless it's on paper. Put it on paper. If you get it for that price,
recently.
Would you be happy? Submit it. Who cares if they're not happy with it? It's an offer.
We had this both ways, actually. One, we had a very young first-time buyer that we wrote an offer. We got a counter offer, and we were like, okay, we're ready to counter them back. And we were like, guys, we can probably get it about here. That buyer, actually second time this year, that buyer said, nope, we're happy with that price. Let's just accept it. And our advice from our side, from my agents to the buyer was, there is more money on the table. We know we can get, and let's call it 5 to 10 grand more. And both times those buyers said, nope, we're happy with the price. Take the offer. So buyers are willing to pay more sometimes. And on the other side of it, I had a listing that just firmed up yesterday where an offer came in. The seller was like, we'll take it. And I said, guys, they are low. They are expecting a counter offer. The guy, like, you get that realtor language, right? Like, hey, here's my offer, hoping to put a deal together with you, sort of thing. Not like take it or leave it. Like, you know. So I said, guys, they're expecting a counter offer. Let's counter them, like, let's give them a good price, but let's counter them down and we'll get this thing. She said, nope, I just want it done. So like buyers and sellers, a lot of the time when they're motivated, they just want it done. They don't care about a few $1,000s this way or that way.
You know, what's interesting is I met with a seller recently and I asked them, why am I here? Why did you not call back the person that helped you buy this? And it was really interesting. And what he said is that last realtor helped them do a sell and a buy. So sold their previous place to buy this place. On the sell, they were just getting worried about the timing and really wanted it done. And they got an offer. I'm going to make up a number. They got an offer for $750 that they basically said, we will take this. And the realtor, even though they said to the realtor, we will take this, the realtor said, hold on one sec, I'll get back to you shortly, called the other side and said to the buyer's agent, thank you for the offer, but the only price they're going to take is $770 against the advice of their client. And the buyer went, hear me out, the buyer went for it, resubmitted the offer at $770. That realtor went back to them and said, hey, surprise, look what I got you, extra 20 grand. And they were like, well, we're not actually happy about this, because if this had blown up in our faces and we lost the offer, we would have been extremely pissed. Isn't that weird that, like, I mean, they went against their client, what their client told them to do. So that on its own makes sense why they weren't going to work with them again, even though they ended up, their strategy worked and got them more money, but it still pissed them off so much. You're like, I'm never working with you again. Interesting, right?
Wow, that is crazy, actually, because you're trying to deliver the unexpected, as we call it. And so actually, I use a little different version of that trick with inspections. You know, when an inspection doesn't go right, and your buyer's like, nope, hot water tank, that's $1,200, or like all these things, they line them up, and they're like, we're not moving ahead unless we get $2,500. And so, okay, so let me work on it. So I come back and I phone them back and I say, hey guys, was like $2,500. You're going to be happy with that? And they said, yeah, we'll move forward for $2,500.
Right.
Good. I got you $4,000, sign here. And they're like, everybody's like, oh, wow. Okay, good, great. Right. And it's a wonderful experience.
But that's a different scenario. They didn't say to you, Steve, only do this. We're ready to take this. They said, this is what we'd like. And you got them better. You didn't go against what they said. Right. So it's a little bit different.
Which is a lesson actually for realtors that are listening right now.
Yeah.
Which is, and I'm also experiencing this, particularly on the listing agent side. So if we're writing an offer on your property, stop overprotecting your seller when they want to move forward.
Right.
There's a whole lot of people that when I send them an offer now, they're like, no, I'm not even going to look at it. I said, no. You don't have that choice.
You have to look at
Not even, don't go to your seller and say, hey, here's a terrible offer. I finally brought you an offer after 120 days on market. This is a serious buyer. Let's put this thing together. And they go, oh, no. So a lot of the time the sellers will protect, like not in a legal way, but they'll get offended for their seller.
For their client, yeah. Because they're too scared to take it to the seller and present it and be like, they don't, you don't have the conversation about how low this price is compared to at least what they wanted in their minds.
And then sometimes when those deals come together, it's like, oh yeah, we'll take it. Mm-hmm. Like you'll find out who the motivated people are. I think buyers right now should be like, if you're going to lowball, this is the market to do it here. Like this is it. And where you are, it sounds like it's only condos, but this is that market. So it's okay to lowball when it's lowball time.
It's funny too, because when people were happy to lowball, it was in a market where you're lowballing on a house with 5 or 6 other offers, and all your offer is really doing is potentially pushing up the top price.
The other one.
Where we're in a market now where that's not the case. You can do it. Why are you not doing it? Go. Like we talked about this a few weeks back, that I had that condo that we were at a price and no one was showing it. Then we went super low with an offer date and sold way over quotations the asking price, but under what our previous list price was. So it's
so silly.
The market. It's hard to understand. Are you good on time, or do you have 2 more minutes?
2 more, but then I got to
go.
I got to go.
Right.
Got an appointment.
I might do a longer segment on this, but I just want to make something very clear to people looking at listings online. If you go to Realtor.ca and you look at a listing and you reach out on that listing, you are going to talk with the agent that is representing the property, the listing agent. Okay. If you go to Remax.ca and it's a Remax listing, you will talk to the Remax agent that's representing it. If it's not a Remax listing, you'll get someone else probably similar on the Royal LePage website and things like that. Most other sites you go to, the sites that we all know that I'm not going to say out loud, that we all go to are the apps. Those are search portals disguised as real estate companies. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I've had so many people reach out to me about selling properties. And I look back and I go, who bought them this? And it was agents from these companies that are disguised as portals. And I actually think the business model is genius. So just to be clear, like I'm not anything against it. All I'm saying is, see, if I had one person, I asked them, I was like, well, who did you work with last time? And I hadn't looked at the past listing. And they go, oh, I bought this through X website. I'm like, that's just a brokerage. And that was the agent that represented you. But no, this was listed by another company. They're like, no, I bought it through this. They didn't even realize that the agent that they were working with, I'm like, oh my God. So let's even just say unless it's Realtor.ca, there's a good chance any other site you're going to, the person that when you reach out for more information might not be the actual listing agent. And maybe that's a good thing because you want your own representation. Maybe you can decide, but I just want to do a little PSA so people understand, because I don't think a lot of people that are reaching out to me didn't even realize really who they were working with. They thought it was a site. It's like, no, that's a realtor that works for that company.
I had an even better call about people not realizing. I had a call the other day. My assistant took it, and I just overheard her talking because the person was so loud on the other end of the phone. And it was somebody phoning from YouTube, from the main channel, that was looking for advice. What they were looking for was a home inspector, my recommended home inspector.
Okay.
And they were like, well, why do you need a home inspector? My assistant was, why do you need a home inspector? The answer, I think I just bought a house. And she's like, you think you just bought a house? Yes, I think I just bought a house, and I think I need a home inspector. And I was like, get off that phone call. I don't want to, point her towards our website, our referred, mortgage brokers. Everybody's on our website, so go there. Inspectors included. But I think I just bought a house. Okay.
That might have just been something they said because they were worried to say that they're reaching out just to get your person not to use you guys. They might have just
I get that so often. I get that so often. Oh, who do you
Well-
do for this? I'm like, listen, talk to your agent, man. Don't talk to me.
I think this is the best real estate podcast on YouTube and the audio platforms because we actually talk about real estate on this show and not everything else that is going on in Canada. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye. Hopefully next week. That would be nice.